Okay, welcome to another episode of Behind the Business. Super pumped for today's episode. We have Chris. Thank you so much for being here today.
I'm pumped. I'm excited. You know I love coming in the studio. This is only my second time, and I love it.
I knew, what was it, last week or 2 weeks ago when you
I think it was
hopped in
2
here?
weeks because I was sick last week.
Yeah, when you hopped in here for like 2 minutes, I was like, yeah, you're coming on the show.
Oh, yeah. And right when I got in here, I put the earphones on. I was like, I love this.
Yeah, I know. You kind of get lost in this
do.
room.
Like, I don't know what it is. Like, it's just even the earphones.
Yeah.
I just love it.
You feel like a pro, too.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
And like I mentioned before we even started, I always like to start with, it's such a funny question. It's like, who are you?
Yeah.
But really, it's like, what kind of kid were you? Where did you grow up? Lots of the guests are Newmarket based, but I've had lots of guests that were born in another country and then they made their way here.
To Newmarket.
So
let's start right from the beginning. I was born in Toronto, like in Scarborough, in Malvern, actually. And then we moved up here when I was about 10 years old. We moved to Newmarket. Girl. And my dad was a mailman. I remember being in Scarborough. My dad would pick me up. You know the old car trucks?
Yeah.
He'd pick me up from school. We'd drive home from that. We went to Emily Carr Public School. I don't remember much, though. It's funny. Like, that's what I remember of my childhood there. Then moving to Newmarket. Now I really, grade 4, grade 5, you start to remember. Went to Rogers Public School. We moved around a fair amount, but keeping in mind, my parents have been in real estate, right? So we moved a lot. Like there was different,
opportunities arose.
And now we've moved a lot.
Yeah.
And my kids are like, no, stop moving. It's,
When you were moving though, did you always stay at the same elementary school?
Stayed at the same school. So moved within an area like that, we always went to the same school. And then at that point, once you got into high school, which is where my parents know, the one area they messed up. In grade 8, we moved to Innisfil. So I started high school, brand new high school, grade 9 in Innisdale, which is like in Barrie.
Yeah.
And they knew that was a mistake. That was the one move that they were like, if we could take back any move, and they've probably moved a lot, that would be the one move where they know they made the mistake.
Like all the bonds being built as a child. Coming up, you're going into high school, such a big stuff, and it's like, well, let's just, you don't know anyone now.
That was exactly it. Grade 9, don't know anyone, and then, so I was like, after a year of being there, I said, yeah, I left. I came and lived with a buddy down here back in Newmarket.
Oh my.
I said to my parents, I'm like, guys, I can't do it. I don't, I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
There was a lot of bad influence up there. Remember, Innisfil is bigger now, but back then, we're talking, I'm not that old, but 20 years.
Yeah, it wasn't as developed.
No, it was not as developed, right? So you get that small town where there's not much to do there, right? So
some sketchy.
It gets a little bit
sketchy
sketchier.
rooms.
Exactly, right? So
trying to pass the boredom.
It got to the point where I'm like, I can't do this, and I'd get calls from buddies like, man, when are you coming back? And I'd visit every so often, and they'd be like, come on, you got to come back like this. So I ended up just leaving. Coming back and living with a buddy, and living actually with a few buddies. Yeah. Starting here at Newmarket High, and my parents ended up moving back. So because I think it was the same for my brother and my sister. They had grown up here too, right? So they had moved back, and I think probably about a year after I had left.
Yeah.
They had moved back.
You brought it back.
Yeah, and then I moved back home. And live there.
You have a brother and a sister?
Brother and a sister.
Older, younger, where are you?
I'm the black sheep. I'm the middle child. Sister's younger. She is currently working at a dental college, and my brother works at Rogers.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
Also, too, it's like when you were there in Innisfil, it's like, when are you coming home? And you probably felt like you were so far away from Newmarket. But today, you're
it's
like...
It's not far. Now, even, and especially being in real estate, I'm like, well, Innisfil is so close.
Yeah.
and the prices are great. And
Yeah.
it's like, but back then I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
No.
man, how am I going to get
You
home?
might as well have been in Sudbury.
Oh, that's exactly what it felt like, right? No car, no nothing. I was too young to drive anyways, right? So
What a crazy experience though. Like, I'm going back. So
That's-
what? You were in grade 10?
I was in grade 10, living at a buddy's house. His parents let me stay there. I'm like, guys, I want to live here. I don't want to live in Innisfil anymore.
Are you still friends with that guy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Best buddies.
Yeah.
He was my best man at my wedding. Man. Right? So, and that's the one thing for me that has always stuck. I've got friends from grade 4, grade 5 that I still talk to, not, once every 3 years.
Yeah.
Talk to them a lot,
Tight
right?
bond.
So, yeah. And then as we developed and kind of lived in an area here in Newmarket, Quaker Hill, and we had friends in Glenway and whatever. We all developed this huge bond where there was a big group of friends.
Yeah.
And we're still a big group of friends with a few kind of that have straggled off here and there. But for the most part, when we have get-togethers, like, we can't do them now, but and now we do them, and it's like you got 10 other friends going, oh, why am I not invited?
Yes.
I'm like, guys,
for sure.
COVID, what do you want me to do? Like, but we have that big group of friends that...
Yeah, I have a similar group. Yeah, it's quite large.
It is.
We always joke with each other, like, and there's like the really, really tight group, but then they have their own groups too, but you're still all like good friends too. You're like, wow.
The other groups, and like we could have the
all
biggest party, and it would be
all love.
Awesome. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like there'd be no worries. Happens all the time.
Yeah. And so did you go to Newmarket High all the way through, or did
went
you
Newmarket High all the way through?
Yeah, I went there too.
Yeah, new one. So this was when it was. So when I left, the old one was being torn down. And then they were building the new one.
Or
they just tore it down.
That caught on fire?
I think the one before that caught on fire. This was on the corner of Prospect and whatever, not Patterson. I don't know. There's townhouses there now. Terry Carter.
Yeah. So you went to the one on Mulock?
I went to the one on Mulock, yeah.
Very
I think
nice.
it was its second year that it was open.
And what kind of kid were you in high school? Like, do you play sports or you just party?
It's funny. I was a kid growing up, and I played soccer and hockey. Played both of those. And then once high school came, oh, man, you get it. Like, the problem is if you're not dead set on it, you start meeting girls and you got your buddies and you're going to parties and back in the day, like, and we talk about this all the time. Now, granted, I know we're in grade 10 and we're not of age, but I went to the GOAT.
Yeah.
And we say this all the time, like in Newmarket, I don't know what they're doing now, because when I was a kid, it was Goat, Hound and Heather, Fox and the Fiddle. Like there was one day of the week, the Rickies, like there was every day, Monday to Sunday. And we didn't go every day.
Yeah,
but
no.
we weren't
but there was a
alcoholics.
spot.
But if we wanted to go out, we could go out, right?
Wow.
And now I look and I'm like, guys, where do you go if you're even, let's say you're 18 or 19,
Yeah.
like, I don't know where you go around. Like, I know the OV is a great spot, and I love Al. He's great. Like, great spot.
He probably even follows you of having that big group, right? So you kind of you made those places fun. When you can bring, whether it's 8, 12, 20 people,
absolutely,
you make the place fun.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't really go to any places in high school, but maybe right out of high school. Oh my goodness, what was it called?
Well, over here on Leslie.
We went to Gabby's.
Oh yeah,
we
Gabby's.
We made Gabby's like the most fun place ever.
That's exactly it.
There was Caprice.
Oh, geez. I know the owner of Caprice, Luke, and that place was. It was a great club.
Yeah,
but I think it was crazy for Newmarket.
Oh, they didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, it was too crazy for here. Like that was meant to be.
Yeah, so our group, we brought like 50, 60 people there. Let's go.
Yeah,
it was a great time.
Oh yeah.
So then. Now, post high school, where did you go? Were you thinking about what you wanted to do, or was it just like
post high school? I wasn't sure. So I actually I worked at a local company called Tesoro, and this was actually end of high school. and then post high school,
Yeah.
delivering windows, right? So I delivered windows, good money.
Yeah.
You know, back then it was good money. Like minimum wage is 15 now, but it was like, I'm trying to think. I think it was like 6 or 7, maybe. I don't even know if it was that. And I was making like 20, right? So I was like, this is great. But I did it for like a couple of years, and I'm like, this isn't what I want. So then moved out to, actually got a few friends.
Yeah.
And they're like, let's go to college. Let's go to Vanshaw. Let's go to London.
Oh.
Well, did we not just have the same group of friends out in London? Yeah. So I go out there, we move. Like, obviously, there's us. There was like 4 of us. To find out, there's like...
Oh, this is where you guys are.
There's like 15 people. And then it didn't matter because all of our friends would come out they would drive from Newmarket and come out every weekend. So we would go out, and London...
Is a blast.
It's a blast.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? I loved high school, but I also really loved college.
Yeah.
Like, college was... You know, it's next level. You're on your own. You're kind of like...
You're allowed to be doing it.
You're allowed because you're legal, right? So you're not worried about that. And, you know, I did well in school. Like, there was a good balance, right? I never had any issues with school, never failed. I look back now and think, if I have a night of drinking, I don't know how I even went to school. But it wasn't a problem back then. Like, you could do that, wake up and be like, okay, going to class.
Easy.
But I'm like, I can barely get out of bed. And we were talking about that, right? Like, it's changed so much.
I'm 29 now, right?
Okay.
I swear within the last 2 years, I'm like, if I'm drinking that on Friday, like,
you know,
I need Saturday, no. Sunday, maybe I'm at like 65%. Like, it takes so long to get back to 100%.
Wait till it's about 4 or 5 days, because now that's what it is. Like Friday and then Monday, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go to work, obviously. But it's like even now, and we didn't drink heavy, but I'm still tired. We went up to Blue Mountain. Yeah. It's just even doing excursions without drinking. Yeah. Or maybe there is some drinking. Yeah. Even just doing it, I'm like,
back then at the college days, it's like...
I look back, I'm like, how did I went even in,
I'll go
even in high school.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess it's just the human body.
It's probably
or this is a theory that I have. Everyone has a certain amount of miles on them, where like party miles.
Yeah.
Some blow through it by the time they're 25. some they're done at like 63. Like,
I know.
You know, maybe the slow and steady drinker. Like,
that's it. Absolutely. Man, it's crazy. But so
what'd you take there?
Business marketing.
Yeah.
So we did. It was really, honestly, it was a great course because it was a lot of hands-on. Like, a lot of the marketing courses were presentations, selling products. Yeah. Like, I really enjoyed it. Like, for me, I loved it, right? Like, it was that class, especially. There was 2 classes like that. I loved it.
Yeah.
Economics, you know, and then you got those courses like,
it's funny. We are extremely similar. Oh my goodness.
It's like, I'm not.
I went to St. Lawrence College.
Okay.
In Kingston. Took business marketing. Same thing. The like hands-on like sales and marketing ones I loved. Accounting, mail that one in. Economics, my 3rd year, I was failing because I was actually coming back and forth for summer skates for the whole last year. And I went to the teacher at the end and I was like, I need this credit to just get this little piece of paper. My dad doesn't even think I'm in school anymore because I'm home so much. And she's like, okay, write a paper on yourself.
Oh my God.
I was like, oh, okay.
That's amazing.
Wrote
I
the
can
paper,
do that.
and
No
away
problem.
we go. Yeah. But same thing. Like, there was those classes that I really enjoyed. And that's another thing that I loved about the college of it. Small classrooms, and it was like kind of more hands-on.
It was.
And
it was a lot more hands-on.
And instead of like all theory and textbook, I would have been like,
I wouldn't have been able to handle it.
Yeah.
I loved that's exactly it. No big auditoriums, just smaller classrooms, maybe. I think max mine were 20.
Yeah.
25 tops, but even some were smaller, like 15.
For sure.
Like, it was a really well done course.
Yeah.
And that's where I met Aaron.
Oh, nice.
So it's funny. Funny story with Aaron is we have kind of similar groups of friends.
Yeah.
We had met once. She's from Newmarket.
Oh, okay.
I'm from Newmarket. And we met in college.
Yeah.
We had met once before that over at Persicini Fitness.
Yeah. What high school did she go to?
She went to Sacred Heart.
Okay.
So different schools, similar groups of friends.
This is so weird.
Yeah, like, and we meet in college.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was like the first weekend that I got out there, and I'm like, and we had met once. And again, remember, this is like, we're at Persicini's. A buddy of mine's like, hey, this is Aaron, and they were chatting. I'm like, hey, how's it going? Like, then we go work out. Like that was the extent of our meeting.
Yeah.
And then we see each other in college, and that, like, honestly, it was like instant. We started hanging out, and then that was it. And like, we've been together since the start of college. But the funny story is we do have similar groups of friends where we never really met before that. Yeah. And then we get to college, and now we're married.
Amazing.
2 kids.
Amazing. Like, I'm just laughing. I don't like. I feel like you say a story and be like, guess what? I had the exact same one. I do. It's Elisa out there. Like, I went to Newmarket High. She went to Sacred Heart.
Shut up.
Okay. It was like second year of university. Met her through another friend. We have overlapping groups of friends.
Like that same idea that we talked about.
And then got together. Actually, she told me to get away for a couple times, but then we've been together ever since. Now it's 9 years.
That's crazy.
It's like the same story.
It is, and you know what? You're soon to be married.
Yeah.
If we keep following down the path, we're 40. We just Aaron and I just turned 40. So that's weird.
That is weird.
Because we never knew this.
No.
Like, let's face the facts. We didn't know this before doing this whole thing.
This is on record, yeah.
Yeah, like that was...
That's crazy. Like, it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's nuts. So went to college, had a blast.
Yeah.
Had a blast.
Yeah.
And then, funny thing, then from there, decided that I'm going to travel a bit by myself.
Okay.
So I left. Friends of mine were living out in Vancouver, and I went out to Vancouver, and I said to Aaron, I'm like, I gotta go do it. I gotta go do it. So she came out and visited.
Yep.
Like, we were still, I didn't meet anyone out there. Like, there was, but I was out there, and it wasn't easy to find work at that time. Yeah. But I was just enjoying it. Like, I had a great time out in BC. I only lived there for probably 8 months. Yeah. Lived with my friends for a bit, moved out, then moved back with them, and then she came probably that 8 month, and we traveled around a little bit, went to Whistler, like just did a little bit, like not major traveling. Yeah. And then she was like, you got to come home, and that was it. And I was like, you know what?
I had enough out here.
I'm good out here. Like, it's nice. Don't get me wrong. Mountains are beautiful. I love the style. Like, the West Coast living. I get it. It's nice. It's done. Yeah. Right. And so that's when we moved home, and then Aaron and I then moved down to, and it's funny. So as she's there, I've got a buddy who works at Dell Computers. So he calls me and he's like, man, I think I can get you a job here. Great company, Dell. And Dell back then was big. Like, they were, and they're still, like, they're big now, but
Michael Dell started in his college room.
That's it. He's exactly. And then and at that time when I was joining, it was the Dell dude. Yeah. I don't know if you remember those commercials, but there was this dude, you got a Dell, like, and it was, these commercials were huge, right? So I had an over the phone interview, and got the job. So I'm like, okay, even more reason to move home. So I moved home, got the job, worked at Dell at the lowest level you can, which is their home sales department. Yeah. And this was a time when, like, they had what they called a queue, like a sales queue. Calls were just flying in to buy Dells.
Oh, okay.
Like, they were flying
all inbound.
Oh yeah, all inbound, never any outbound. Just continual. Like, they would buy us pizza because they didn't want us to leave to go for lunch and stuff like that. So we moved down to the city. My parents bought a condo as an investment, and we rented it from them. Full pop. They didn't, no discount, no nothing. No. Like, but hey, I get it. Yeah. It's the best way to live. I would rather them not give me everything and make me earn it, right? So we lived on the waterfront. Again, just enjoyed it down there. Like, being down the city. Yeah, being down the city, no kids still. Yeah. We would go out. We were, we're very close to the clubs. Yeah. But it was just, different lifestyle. We'd go, go for runs, go for walks, go do anything, go to a comedy. Like there's so much to do, right? And then we moved from there and bought a loft on our own. So it was great because we saved up, and then we were driving around the city and we saw these lofts and we're like, let's go in there. And then we ended up buying one, pulled out RSPs, like just pulled every last stop we could to get this, right? Bought that and then ended up selling that like 3 years later. Moved in with her grandma. She used to live in, she lived on Bathurst in the annex. So we lived there for a while. And then that's what brought us back up to Newmarket. Oh yeah. And
nice little trip down.
It was all over. Like it was crazy. Like, and it was like all pretty quick. Like for us to even full circle come back. And then we bought a house, our first house, sold the loft, bought our first house on Patterson, right across from the hospital.
Yeah.
Just a little, nice detached house. Think about this. Detached, Patterson's like right across the hospital. Just a little bit
my
up.
Parents live at Queen and Roxborough.
So Roxborough, if you turn, it turns into into Patterson essentially, across Davis.
Yeah.
And then you've got the rink, Hollingsworth. We were like right across from the rink essentially. So we bought that house, and man, I wish it's like you look back and it's like if you had a crystal ball, you'd be like, oh, I should have kept it. I think we bought that house for like $218.
Yeah, prime real estate right now.
3-bedroom, detached, nice private yard, like single car garage, but still like. Yeah. We finished the basement. We put a washroom down there, and then we sold it, and we sold it for like. And then I look back and I'm like, man, I can't remember what we sold it for. It was dirt cheap.
Yeah.
And then moved to Holland Landing. So then we moved to Holland Landing. Well, actually, we had Preston at that point.
Yeah.
Which was crazy in itself to have your first child, and it's crazy.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then moved to Holland Landing, smaller house actually, bigger yard. We went for the bigger yard because we're like, oh, we're having a son, we can run around with them. Yeah. Who cares about the house? Yeah. House size doesn't matter. And it was really, the basement was big, but the upper was low, like really small. Then we're having our second, Quinn.
Yeah.
We're not having 3. Doctor's already taking care of that. And it was a 3-bedroom house, but the 3rd bedroom was like this big.
Yeah.
So we could have made it work, but we didn't. So then we bought here in Glenway, and we've moved probably about 4 times since.
Glenway.
Oh yeah, within Glenway.
Were you forced out of Glenway, or?
No, we never left Glenway after that. So we've been, since Preston has gone to school, Erin she's told me, because there was a time. So when we were going to move from Holland Landing back to Newmarket, we put an offer in on a place on Roywood.
Okay.
If you're familiar with that street, Kane Parkway.
Yep.
The hill there. Well, there's houses there. That's Roywood. And I love that. That's where when we first moved to Newmarket, I lived on Roywood. And those houses have massive backyards. We have a couple friends on the street. Put an offer in, lost out on the bid.
Okay.
And that's when we bought Glenway, and we have told the kids that and you know what? I think for me, knowing what I kind of went through for high school, I'm like, I'm not. If we move, again, it will be within Glenway.
Yeah.
Like Erin said, and even Erin was like, no, we're not moving.
Yeah.
We're not getting out of here. I don't want to change the schools. And I get it.
Yeah, for sure. Like I went to the one elementary school, I went to one high school. That was it, just straight shot. But elementary I went to, I was supposed to go to Sacred Heart, but then I went to Newmarket High instead. So, but
I like Newmarket High. I thought I think it's still a great school.
Loved it.
Sacred Heart's good, but I would put them up. Then you had Huron, and we didn't have Sir William back in our day. I don't know if you would have. I don't know when Sir William came in. Was it still?
So I guess it was kind of close to my age, because what are the 2 I feel like it's, what are they? Rogers? No. Armitage and they're gonna kill me because I can't remember. But they split. Half of them went to Mulock, half of them went to Newmarket High instead. So
That would have been no, it would have been Rogers. We had a bunch of kids at Rogers, like when it was my age, that went to Crossland because Glenway was just
Crossland is what I'm thinking of.
yeah, Crossland. So that's where our kids go,
Yeah.
and that. So what had happened was, I know for us, we had a bunch that were at Rogers, and then they all left, and that's kind of where our because we were friends, where our groups kind of still stayed together, and but we met a bunch of people at Crossland, and Rogers is a completely different school. Before it was a joke.
Yeah.
Because it was one level, all open, no walls. You're like, people would be like, Rogers, is that the school with no walls? And I'm like, yeah, like there's a couple rooms. Like our geography class was in a classroom, but it was hilarious because we would sit there and be like, phew, you get the pens, pull out the thing, put it in the wet paper, and shoot it across into like the other grades. Whereas now it's like 2 floors. It's got a gifted program, like.
It's proper now.
Yeah, it's really nice, right? So
I love it. Okay, we're going to take a quick break and then we'll just hop right back into it.
Awesome.
Just a quick shout out to our sponsor, Buzz 505. Buzz 505 was founded by the Snap team to create a new way to record and develop a professional turnkey solution to podcasting. They recognize the power of podcasting, and they have been great to work with in making of this podcast. Check out www.buzz505.com to learn more. Back to the show. And we're back. Now, I wanted to ask you, like, when you're going from, you can't come back to Newmarket.
Yep.
What are you still working at Dell? Have you hopped into?
Still working at Dell.
Yeah,
still working at Dell.
So are you going to the city now? Like, are you
I was
commuting to the city?
Yeah.
And were you driving down, or were you taking the train?
What I was doing was driving down, but then taking the subway.
Oh, okay.
Right? Or I'm trying to think at that point. No, see, it worked out. I was driving because it actually worked out better because what I was doing before. When I was living in the city, I'd have to take the subway up.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have a car at that point. Because I didn't need it.
Yeah.
You're in the city, it was like, I don't need a car.
I hate driving in the city.
Yeah, like I don't, there's no, and I'm not going to pay for an additional parking space. No. So I didn't have one at the start.
Yeah.
And so I would have to take the subway all the way up, Finch, and then go all the way over because Dell was at the 404. So that was where it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Moving to Newmarket, it wasn't hard, but because it was like it's North York, and it's 404 and Finch, it wasn't that bad. Like it was a pretty easy drive. Overall, it wasn't like I had to go deep in the city. I never
you don't have to go
hit
past
the
the 401.
Yeah, I wouldn't even go to the 401.
Yeah.
I would get off usually just before that, even before Finch, and then just do like a loop around, right?
Yeah.
So it worked out for me. It worked out better because the travel from. Because I was at one point, I was down at Union Station. So I'd go Union Station, streetcar into Union up. Then I'd go bus over. Oh my God. If you missed that bus by a minute, because it's not I remember it was the Comer, and it would go all the way across. If you missed that bus by a minute, I was late.
Can you remember what year that is?
That would be, oh, jeez. Now you're getting.
Okay.
Probably be 2000. Well, Preston was born in 2010. So that would be like 2006-ish, probably around there. 2005, 2006.
Yeah. Smartphones are coming, but they're not really that mature yet. So
not
like...
There's no tracking things. And there's no
podcast, YouTube.
No, and that's the other thing. Like the rides are... There's no Wi-Fi anywhere. Like it's like... But you never had that. Like I'm pretty sure I was still Flip.
Yeah.
I was still...
Yeah,
I might have had the Razor, which was really cool. Yeah. But, it was like you didn't really have much. Like texting was like AA, BB. You'd have to like... It was... So it was like you slept.
Actually, I guess that's when... Yeah. And then did you get a BlackBerry first?
I'm trying to think my first smartphone.
Because I think at that time...
I did get a BlackBerry.
I think BlackBerry
was like the biggest thing.
You're like, iPhone.
Yeah, no.
No
chance. Oh, no, BlackBerry, and it was like it wasn't touch.
Yeah, no,
it was like the
keyboard.
pad, which was,
awesome.
Let's face it, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Typing on that was amazing. But I still love typing on the iPhone.
It's way better now.
Now you can swipe.
Well, now it's a supercomputer.
Oh yeah, now it knows what I'm going to say. It's like, okay, I don't even have to. Or you can just be like, hello, how's it going? Like, you know, even when I'm driving, like, I bought my car based on having CarPlay.
Yeah.
Because when I'm driving around, I don't want to be looking at my phone, and I'm not getting that fine. Now I can just be like, Siri, text Erin, tell her I'll be home in 25 minutes.
Yeah, done.
And then it'll do it. Like, and it'll read it back to me. Should I send? Yes. Like,
so smart.
Oh man. Like the thing, and it's funny, like the way we used to live
not
be
that
like
long
now,
ago.
and I'm like, how did we do it? How did, like, honestly, and I'm like, I look at my kids and I'm like, and they're like, they don't even. And I know that's the way it was for us. Like when we were like, oh, you know, your parents would be like, I walked to school barefoot through
uphill
10 feet of
ways.
snow, uphill. And it's like, okay. But I'm like, I say this to my kids and they're like, what? What's a CRT? I'm like, you know, we used to have one TV that we could watch on Saturday. And it was black and white. And sometimes we'd have to wiggle around. And you guys have like TVs everywhere.
In your hand?
Yeah. And you've got like a phone here, a laptop here. You're playing video games. You got a TV here. I'm like, yeah, that stuff didn't happen. We had
shows custom made for you because everyone's making a show just for you.
Exactly. Like, it's crazy. But on the other hand, there's a lot of content, and there, you know, the kids learn a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like, but there's negatives to it too, right?
Overstimulated, you know.
We try our best. We, you know, what we'll do is we'll allot certain amount of hours. COVID was different, right? And it's been different since COVID because, you know, we'd go out for walks, but if you can't go out and play with friends, and when COVID first started, it was pretty chilly, so it's not like you go play basketball, or we weren't even allowed to be on the courts or the diamonds or the fields. Like, so it wasn't even like I could go and kick a ball with them or throw a ball. We weren't allowed there.
Yeah.
So they played a few more video games and watched a few more videos for our sanity too, right? Sometimes, and that's the thing. Sometimes it's like, it's for our sanity. See, we're not allowed. When I was a kid, I wasn't able to just run out and do whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
And it really, truly was. Street lights, or my dad would whistle really loud.
Yeah.
We just felt safer. I don't know what it was, but
I had the same thing. Like, I grew up in Queensville. It was like one little neighborhood, like Fieldstone Lane.
Okay, yeah.
In that area, and we had 6 guys all around the same age. So it was like, okay, well,
I'm going to play with them.
Just like literally yell outside your front door. I'll hear you somewhere in the neighborhood. Like, and
you'd go adventure. And I'd go down to Fairy Lake with my buddies, and we'd go like under in the sewers and like, you know, those waterfalls.
Yeah.
There's a little. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but there's an opening on the one side of the waterfall. We used to go in there. We used to go in the water. Now I don't know if it's any worse or any better than what it is today, which I know it's not that good today, and I'm pretty sure it was just as bad. But we were kids, and like that's what we did. We adventured. So, but I know it's different nowadays.
It's a different time. And, you know, you make your adjustments a long way.
That's it. And technology is going to be even more important for these kids.
Yeah.
That's why I don't want to
shut it out.
I don't want to be like, no, you're never going to have a tablet. No, you're never, like, it's just like McDonald's. McDonald's obviously isn't good for you, but you can eat it every so often, and it's not that bad for you, right? Yeah. So I think with technology, they need to know it, because they're going to get held back if they don't. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
It's
not even like knowing it will be an advantage. It will be like the start line.
That's it.
It'd be like.
Absolutely. Like, I think about older people now in my brokerage. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my, like, I'm not, and because it's COVID, so I'm like, I can't touch your computer. I'm like, can you just pull up the Wi-Fi? And he looks at me, he's like, where do I do that? And I'm like, okay, can you just do the browser then? And then we get the Wi-Fi going. I'm like, okay, open up a browser. And he's like, what's a browser? What? And I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So like, I'm just, I think about if that was my kid. Yeah. And it's only going to get more, the technology is only going to get crazier. Yeah. Right. And it's only going to increase. We're only going to see more things happening, right? Throughout our years, where it's probably going to be, when we're like 67, like, what's this? What's going on here? Like, what are you guys doing?
They're like, you're in like, VR.
Like, where are you, son? And like, Dad,
I'm not actually
I'm
here.
not here. It's like, you know what I mean? Like,
I'm in India. I'm backpacking.
It's like, that's how crazy it's going to be, right? Like, and we're going to be like, what are you talking about?
I can see you right here.
You're right here. Like, that's the funny thing where it's like, but so I don't want to take them away from that, but I also want them, and our kids are pretty good, where if we're like, let's get outside, they're like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
And if we go up to like the cottage, there's no Wi-Fi, there's no nothing, they'll be outside running around all day. Yeah. They're not like moping around like, I want to go home, I want to get on Wi-Fi. There's no Wi-Fi. Yeah. Right? They're like, okay, I'll go adventure. I'll go find frogs. I'll go swimming. And we just let them run around. Right?
Have the balance. Find the perfect balance.
It's been tough since this COVID, but overall,
it will be like forever ebb and flowing. Like,
that's it.
A little too much, not enough, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Just do your best.
Just
right?
do it. That's it. That's exactly it. Yeah.
So through that whole mix, right? Like you're starting to have kids, you're moving around, you're going to the city. When do you stop that job? Like when I'm trying to lead into the real estate.
Okay.
game.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Like
so I worked.
What's that process?
So I started at Dell as sales, moved throughout there, then moved into marketing. Then I would say in my 8th year at Dell, changes started to happen, right? You know, you could see more jobs going to the U.S. It's a U.S. company. It's from Texas. Some good changes. They were like, okay, hey, you can work from home now. Like they adapted the work from home 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago. Yeah. That's when my last time I was there. Whereas they took out, we had 3 levels on that in that office. They took out 2 of the levels, told everyone to work from home, come to the office, once or twice a week. Save huge money. And they did that across the globe, right? Yep. Just to save. And it worked. But what happened there was, okay, I'll work from home. I can probably do a little real estate too. Yeah. So then I started to get my license. So we had Preston and we were having Quinn, and I was on like my last course. At that time, courses were different. We only had to take 3 and we could get our license. And then we had to take 4 more after that. So I could get it. I got it done while I was working at Dell. Yeah. So then I started selling, right?
And this was always in your life though.
Remember, my parents have been selling real estate for, now going on probably 35 years. Yeah. So real estate was always in my life. I don't think I was in high school going, guys, I'm going to sell houses. And I'm not trying to make fun of it, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was delivering windows. I was traveling to Vancouver. I had no clue. Yeah. At Dell, I was probably like, I think I'm just going to become like the director of Dell or the VP.
Just live executive.
You know what I mean?
Life.
But then it was like, I could see shifts and changes at Dell where Canada wasn't as important.
Yeah. Which happened a lot. Especially around that time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. So, and jobs became global jobs. And so they really came out of Texas, right? For Dell. So that's when I was like, I'm going to pivot here. I'm going to make a change. I'm going to get my license, but do the same.
But you could do 2 things at once. That's a perfect opportunity.
I was making good salary there, right? So I'm selling, I'm not selling a ton, but I'm going out, I'm showing houses. I'm working from home. Yeah. I'd work and be like, hey, I can show you a house at 3 because my day's pretty much done, and I'd go show some houses. And so I did well. I started doing well. And because I had such a big group of friends, they were right at the age of everyone's buying a house. Yeah. So that made it even busier. So I would say probably about 2 years into working at Dell and doing real estate, my boss comes to me. Hey, Chris, we've got a package for you. Severance package, right? And I'm like, okay, what is it? And I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm going, oh, this is fucking exciting. Yeah. Because when you start real estate, the idea is, and they say you need 6 to 8 months to really take off. Now, I'd been selling. Yeah.
To put the legwork in.
Exactly, right? To really do well, you've got to, you need that income so then you can focus on, because I'm not making calls. Yes. I'm not really doing any advertising. I'm not I'm telling people that I'm in real estate, my buddies and things like that, my friends, family, like a little bit here and there. So they offer me this, and I had worked there for 10 years. So it was a great severance package. Yeah. Now I was like, it's a little early. I didn't plan to leave at that point. So then I'm like talking to Aaron. I'm like, I think this is the time. Like, I think I need to do it. I had about 3 different job offers at Dell that I could have done. But I'm like, no, just pull the plug. Let's go. Like, I'm going to take the severance and I'm going to run with it. She was pregnant with Quinn. So she's like, well, are you sure? Like, and I'm like, I know this is a little early because it was. Quinn was due pretty soon after that. And our plan was that I would maybe do it at 6 months to a year. So I'm like, I know it's early, but I'm like, this is a good severance. Let's take it. Let's take it and run. Because if I didn't do that, I would have gotten the job and then probably just quit a year and not got that large severance, right? So that's when it kind of, I pivoted and then I went full force real estate, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then my parents were working at Home Life. We started Main Street Realty. And it's just been like, go from there, like nonstop, right?
Yeah.
Growing the brokerage, growing my business. Like,
do you think all your time spent working at Dell gave you a competitive advantage when you came into this industry, into this world?
Yeah, because 10 years ago, marketing wasn't as, like, virtual tours weren't a thing. Like, there was people like that would take photos. But for me, and especially because at Dell, I went from sales into the marketing. So my last 5 years was as a brand manager, as a marketing manager, right? So I kind of brought that aspect of what I know into, okay, we need to make some changes here in real estate. Like, we need to, and I'm not saying I changed the game, but I was like, I'm talking to my parents about, marketing ourselves and
because
doing certain things.
Real estate
right?
primarily would be like sales.
That's
like,
it.
Just let's get sales going.
Put a sign
not
up,
kind of top level brand marketing.
No. And
that
then
type
that's
of
when I
exposure.
kind of created so at first I didn't know anything, right? I'm green. I have no clue. So I'm just trying to still learn the game. Like a listing presentation. Like I remember my first listing presentation. I went in, I was sweating buckets. And I'm like, and these are friends. And I'm like, and I'm still nervous. And I'm like, I don't know. They're asking me questions. I'm like, well, yeah, absolutely you can. And I don't even think it was right. But I'm like, let's just list this up and let's see what happens. And, like I'm still trying to learn that aspect.
We'll circle back.
Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm trying to learn that before taking it to the next level. Right. And learning the brokerage and just learning everything. Like, it was, when you're only doing it part-time, you're not really taking it all in. Right? You're just doing deals here and you're getting people to help you and you're making a little bit of money. Yeah,
especially because you still had the corporate side of it. So it's like, this isn't the only thing that I need. So, not 100% of your focus or
that's it.
Right?
Was there, right?
It was there,
and then
much more casual.
But then it goes from you take your corporate, which I did for 8-10 years. I had a boss who had a boss. To I don't have a boss. I am my boss. To I need to,
figure it out. You got another kid coming.
Yeah, like, you got to work, bud. Like, this is your severance isn't going to last you forever. It was good, but let's face the facts. You still had a mortgage. You still had, and Aaron was getting very minimal at that time for being off from work, right? So I was like, I just honestly listened to my dad, and that was it. So I just started cold calling and
be a sponge,
calling our friends and just sitting with him, and he would kind of, and that's exactly it. Being a sponge and just listen to because at that point, he's taken a step back from the sales, and like, he still does it. But his passion right now is the brokerage. And it's mine too, but I still need to make money. And the brokerage makes money, but he runs more of the day-to-day where exactly. And I manage some of the agents, and they'll call me. But I also brought me into, like, probably 3 years ago starting the team. Okay.
So when it's severance package, okay, we're diving in. What year is that? Do you remember?
That would be 2010, 2011.
Yeah.
Preston was born. So it'd probably be about 2011. No, it would be 2012.
Okay.
2012, somewhere around there. Yeah, 2012, 2013. Because I did start, there was a 2-year overlap. So no, it was probably 2013. Because that was when Aaron was pregnant with Quinn.
Yeah.
And Quinn was born March 11, 2014. So it's probably like end of or close to end of 2013.
And how long does it take for you to like start to feel that you got that stride now? Is it 1 year, 2 years? And then you're like, the groundwork is built, my foundation is built.
Yeah.
Let's start taking like my competitive edge, the other knowledge that I have, and kind of blow this thing up a little bit bigger.
I think it was probably a good 2 to 3 years. It's funny. There is a lot of agents. I think there's like 55,000 agents just in the Toronto real estate market. Average agent sells one. I think it's like 1.2 homes.
Yep.
Right. And I'm not trying to. What I'm trying to say is like I think we get into this thinking this would be a cakewalk. Let's sell real estate. Just put a sign up.
Yeah, easy.
It's not, and that's why. So for me, it was like getting comfortable. And what I did is I cold called every day. And I went on as many listing appointments, whether it was with my dad or by myself. I went on as many appointments as I could, and I got some.
Yeah.
And there were some I didn't get, but I had to learn, right? And I went and buyers, like I just worked with a ton of buyers. Because at that point, still, I had friends that were like, yeah, we're looking to buy. That's where I was getting majority of my business. And so my focus was learning the business, but letting every single person I know that I'm in real estate. Because at that time, also, there wasn't many in my group. Now, in my group of friends, there's not many real estate agents anyways, but there wasn't any. Yeah. No one knew anyone. I was feeding my dad. I realized now that I was getting into real estate, my dad will say, I can't believe you got into real estate. Because I was giving him referrals, like all my friends, when I wasn't selling real estate. Yeah. And he'd slip me like a couple hundred or here and there. I'm like, and I look back at him and I'm like, now that you
should go back and be like, this is the commission that's owed.
This is my retainer for everyone I gave you, because I'm like,
it's a lot of people, a lot of money.
It was a ton. Yeah. It was a ton. And then when I got into real estate, I would call them. Yeah. And guess who they'd call? They'd call me, and then he'd be like, you stole, those are, and he jokes. Like my dad always has been like, I want you to be as successful as possible. Like he'll never give me a lead. Like he doesn't want to give me leads. He wants me to work he's always been like that. And it's been great. He's always wanted me to work for my leads. There's been the odd one that he might throw me because he's he's away or whatever, and we'll split it. But overall, he's always just been like, you got to work. Like, don't slack off. You've got to work hard. So for me, it was cold call. Like, just do as much as I could.
Yeah, put the work in, right? Make it happen.
I had to. And then bring in the marketing.
Yes.
That's where then it changed, right? Then it was like, now I know the business.
Yeah.
I know, like, okay, I can go on a listing appointment, but I was going on listing appointment like this, like, hi.
Yeah.
I have no marketing materials. Yeah. I might print out the odd like listing, like, here you go. Yeah. This is what your house. So then it was like, I gotta bring this up. Like, we gotta do something else.
You tightened everything up.
Then that was it. Then I brought in like I did a listing booklet. We did brochures for our houses. Yeah. We got into the virtual tours. We got into building websites for our houses. Like, it really brought it to the next level, putting together a full marketing plan, right? And my dad was like, right. And it's funny because I talk about, Sonny, and they're older and you're on the VR. My dad is like adaptable towards that stuff. Like he's like, Chris, check out this place, the real estate channel. They'll convert your listing into Mandarin. You think we should do this? And I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah, he's in the mix.
He's fully engaged and loves marketing. Like, he's probably sometimes more excited about it than I am, right? Like, and it's like, okay, this is good.
Yeah,
that's
nice.
Good. Yeah,
that's
but then
nice.
It's like, then he gets it. Yeah. And it's the back end stuff where he's like, I don't know how to do this. How do you do this? And I'm like, all right, let me show you. Like, it's the actual using it. Like, he loves the concept. But
makes perfect sense.
Yeah, but like, getting into the platform, he's like, I don't know what the hell is going on here. But he adapts and he watches the training videos. And
so now you're really putting it all together.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know this for sure, but I'm hoping this is lining up to when this area got crazy.
Yeah.
Is this a right timeline?
I would say close. 2015, 2014 was kind of like a buyer's market.
Yeah.
And I remember that was tough. Being newer.
Yeah.
houses were on for 90 days.
Yeah.
You know, and you were taking conditional sales on you selling your house.
Yeah.
But they're going, mine's not selling for 90 days. How long is this going to take? So it was like 60 days, right? So it was a tough period for me being new.
Yes.
Someone that like my dad, he's like, Chris, I've been through this. Don't worry.
Yeah.
It's fine. And my dad's always been like that. Like, listen, you're going to have peaks and you're going to have valleys. Either way, houses are going to sell. There's going to be buyers.
Yeah.
It's just different, right? It's just different, and you've got to manage it differently. When you get in the valleys, you probably lose a few agents, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have as much competition.
For sure.
Because they get discouraged, right? Yeah. So, yeah, then it started to get into that 2016, 2017 craziness, like just nuts.
And so even with that, it was crazy, right?
Oh, yeah. And I was like, I'm taking advantage.
Yeah, for sure.
So I would sell a house. I'd call every single person in that area. Guys, I just sold this house. Got 8 offers. Like just hard. Pounded the pavement. Like just.
If you're ready to do it, now is the time.
This is the time, right? Like don't.
Yeah.
They're not going to call you. Because there was still, at that time, there was probably, I think there's about 48,000 agents. So there was still a lot of competition.
Yeah.
New market, probably like 550. Right now, I think there's like 650, 700.
Yeah. That huge market though, that then brings more real estate agents in. Like,
and then that's what I was finding.
Yeah.
Right. And then it became to the point where now it's everyone. I'm not even doing deals with a lot of local agents anymore, unfortunately, because and it's not unfortunate. I love meeting different agents, but it's nice to work with local agents. A lot of them here are absolutely fabulous. But you get a lot of people coming from Toronto, right? And you get different agents coming from Toronto, and they do things a little bit differently than up in Newmarket. So, but again, still great. Like
for sure. Well, it's like, you know, as Newmarket transitions into like a small town into a big town into a city, right? This new mix is going to come in.
Exactly, right? Exactly.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So, even as this has been great. I feel like every guest I've said, I got to have a part 2, but we got to have a part 2. And I don't know, talk about whatever else we want.
I know. Talk about what's going to happen for you next. Yeah. So this is what's going to happen. You're going to have a kid soon. Yeah. It's going to be a son.
Yes. So, you know, looking forward now, right? It's kind of a crazy time, but even past that, like, what are you trying to build right now? Are you trying to build your team? Are you trying to build the brokerage? Like both, right?
You know, it's kind of changed, right?
Yeah.
So before it was learn the business.
Yes.
Then it was let's perfect as much as we can the marketing of the business. Let's really and let's tighten it up.
Yep.
And so now I can go on a listing appointment and it's no problem. I have all my materials and I can
the process and systems built.
Yeah, it's done, right? So now it's okay. My dad's going to be leaving at some point. Maybe it's 3 years, maybe it's 5 years. He sits there and tells me he's going to be stirring the sauce forever, right? Yeah. Because he loves it. But there's going to be a time where he's going to just want to retire. Yeah. And I tell him, I'm like, man, you got to do it. He's worked a lot. He works hard. He works more than I do. Yeah. He's in there. It's
hard to give that up, though.
It's crazy. Like, he's in there 9 to 5 every day. And then he'll come in on Saturdays, sometimes Sundays. Yeah. And sometimes he'll travel out to the other ones and clean them up. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I'm not doing that. I got I'm not just real estate. I got kids. Yeah. I say this to him all the time. I'm like, I got kids who I'm the head coach of my son's baseball team. Yeah. That's a lot. And then we've got Quinn, who's in dance. She's in theater. I'm on the board. I'm the vice chair at the pen. Like, I'm like, it's busy. Right? Like,
life is happening.
Yeah. Like, so I'm like, I can't do all of that. But me and him together work very hard on growing the brokerage, perfecting little things here and there, while I build my team. Because the idea is, build the team, get it, not too big. Yeah. I don't want it to be massive, but I want it to be a point where it's kind of nice running machine
for sure,
where I can then kind of take over the brokerage in a sense, right?
I love it.
Yeah, that's the idea.
I love it.
So that's probably 2 to 4 years. Yeah. My dad will say no. Like he said 2 years ago.
Whether it's 2, 4, 6, 8, whatever it is.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me.
Just keep
building.
As long
as I'm keep going, like in that, and it just keeps growing. Yeah, that's all that matters to me, right? And as long as I've got a good work-life balance, that's key, right? Like. Yeah. I like to take vacation. Like, this has been killer for us. But we've spent a lot of time at cottages and camping, but we like to go away. We like to take the kids away, all-inclusives, whatever. Just get away. So the COVID's been, it's been tough.
Okay.
Done.
Oh, see,
Are
here
we
you
over?
go. Yeah.
Are we over the time?
Yeah, that just beeped out on the cameras. It's okay. Extended audio version. Extended audio version. We'll just be blank on the video, but on the
on the actual
on
podcast.
iTunes, we'll
This
be
has
listed.
never been done in any podcast.
We'll still be listing because I'm putting a billboard on Main Street.
Yep.
Okay. And you can put any message that you want on it. So anyone that's driving down Main Street.
I'm glad the video's off now. They don't start seeing the sweat come off. I don't know.
Yeah, so they're driving down Main Street. They get to see your message. What would it be to the people?
You know, and we've had this message for quite some time. That I actually really, you know, I'm pretty sure my dad came up with this, but it's you know, local agents with a global reach, because we do focus on that, right? We do focus on being local.
Yeah.
You know, we're not necessarily a boutique brokerage, but we're not that big, massive, you know, brokerage that everyone might know, right? Like we're not touted.
Like
we're
Remax.
not saying we're Remax.
Yeah,
we don't have the big balloon or anything, but we do advertising. We do a lot around the community locally, right? We've got 4 offices, but that's like, and we might go a little bit bigger. But for us, we really appreciate being that local. Yeah, that local.
Local with big power.
That's it.
It's kind of like Snapped, you know? Yeah. It's like Snapp's all local, but
there's big.
A head office that can kind of like cover all of it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, it was awesome. Thank you. You know, I could probably, I don't even know what time it is.
It's fun.
We've been in here for how long?
50.
Okay. Yeah. I could keep going.
Oh,
honestly.
Sure.
But thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Goodbye, everyone.